Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenyan Revolutionary. I'm here for a very quick video that I want to make about 2027 Kenyan upcoming elections, general election, presidential to be precise. I know there will be general elections for gubernatorial seats, senatorial seats, parliamentary seats, MCAs, and so forth, so forth. But the main one is the presidential seat, because the president becomes the head of the state. So the stakes are high on this particular elections, okay? And I want to also touch on Ruto's economic lunacy, this whole idea of Singapore model. You know, he moved from, excuse me, he moved from the hustler and dynasty bullcrap that he was trying to present to us in 2022. Now we're talking about trying to become the Singapore of Africa. So let's listen. We shall tackle that very briefly. I will not keep you here for long because it's late, it's a weekend, it's morning, it's night, it's afternoon, depending on where you are. So if this is your first time on this channel, this is Kenyan Revolutionary. I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So if you like that kind of content, go ahead and subscribe, share, comment, and do all the good stuff. If you're already subscribed, you know the first order of business. It's like to like the video, okay, and share it. And please don't forget to put your notification button on, so every time I come in, you can always get to it and be notified that I'm on, so you can be part of the discussion. But hey, let's get to it real quick. Now, as you can see, a lot of people are talking about, you know, the possibility of Ruto. Ruto's main political opponent in 2027 will be most likely Kalonzo Musyoka, okay? If not Kalonzo Musyoka, it will be Matiang'i, okay? Okay? You had the rumors about Uhuru Kenyatta, you know, making the call to Kalonzo Musyoka and, you know, Gideon Moi, so that Kalonzo can, you know, distance himself from the Wamunyoro guy, okay? What's his name? Rigathi Gachagua. But do not be fooled by all this political merry-go-round. It's just a bunch of nonsense. But let's not worry about it. What I worry about, where I want to put the emphasis on, is 2027. 2027, of course, Musalia Mudavadi and all this, sorry, what am I saying? Kalonzo Musyoka and all these clowns are eyeing at 2027 general elections to win the, you know, the seat. But what I want to focus on is the aftermath of the elections, okay? Because I already, so many times I've told you why I think Ruto is going to win. And he's not going to win because he's the most popular president, because he's promising us all this Singaporean model bullcrap that is running around the country trying to convince us that he wants to build the roads and all this good stuff. That is a bunch of baloney. We know it, you know it, and he knows it, okay? My thing is this: we shall be walking to that elections knowing very well that Ruto is going to rig the elections. That's why you had the IEBC come up. Just like I predicted, they came up and say, hey, listen, after the election, because by law, the results at the polling stations are final. We don't need to take those Form 34A to at Bomas so that it can be declared or verified at Bomas. Once it is announced at the polling station that candidate A won, that's it. That's final, okay? But you had, like I told you guys, like I predicted, the IBC came up and said that, oh no, once it has been declared at the polling station, the Form 34As and Bs and Cs and all that stuff shall be taken to Bomas so it can be verified. Then they're coming with all this new, you know, ukarabati ati, oh, you know, we need to have the IBC folks vote early because they won't have enough time for them to vote. So they'll be allowed. These are all different ways of actually doing what? Rigging the kura, kujaza kura. I mean, like I told you, what's his name? Oscar Sudi already told us, so we know what's going to happen. Now, I'm not worried about that. I know a lot of people are now slowly coming into terms with this. They're realizing that these elections, 2027, if it happens in 2027 or 2026, regardless, Ruto is going to rig himself in. The question is, how will the Kenyan people receive this? Are they going to take up this attitude that, oh, this has been happening, it has always been happening this way, let's just continue on business as usual, all the elections have been rigged, so what's new? Tuendelee mbele na siasa. Let's get on with our lives, because that is what the pro-Ruto folks shall be trying to convince us to do. They will come out and tell us that tuache makelele mingi, kama mkuna shida, let's go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court, we already know these people are all bought, okay? Juris Pesa, we already know that. They will declare that they are standing with the IBC's decision to uphold the victory of Ruto. So after that, what other recourse can the people of Kenya actually take? And that's why I say it will be a very, very, very interesting time to see how people react once Ruto is declared the winner of these elections. Now, that's why I'm saying this will be a proper test for Kenyans. Are we going to go to the streets? Are we going to start battling each other? What are we going to do? Okay? To me, that's the real elections. The real elections is what the people will decide. Now, the propagandists, the pro-government propagandists, shall be working full-time. They've already started. You'll hear them a few months before elections. They'll start telling us that, hey, after the elections announced, please stay calm, go home, accept whoever is voted for, who has won, accept the victory, whatever the case is. Don't try to cause trouble, because that's how democracy works, okay? We have systems in place. If you feel that you've been bereaved, you can go seek help from the, judicial branch of the government, knowing very well that they are also corrupt. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say is this. Going to this 2027 presidential elections in Kenya, no one is going to be the winner. When I say no one is going to be the winner, I don't mean there'll be no winner. What I'm trying to say is this. Whether Ruto loses or wins, okay? Let me open up here. It's so hot. It's so hot. Ooh, I'm dying. Okay? Because think about it. If Ruto loses these elections, guess who's going to take over as the president? It's either Matiang'i or Kalonzo. So there's no win in this. Either way, we have colonial puppets, stooges, who are going to take over the state and do the bidding, continue with the bidding, acting on behalf of their colonial masters. But that's not what, like I say, the emphasis is, which is the biggest question here. Are the people of Kenya going to stand for this? What action are they going to take? That is where we shall really know if the people of Kenya are truly tired of this system, are truly tired of Ruto. Are they willing to settle for a Kalonzo Musyoka or Matiang'i or any other colonial puppet that shall be paraded as an alternative to Ruto? Because maybe Ruto knows that there's a high probability that he will lose these elections. Because remember, if things get chaotic to a point where we are heading towards civil war, like 2007, 2008 post-election violence, the international community can step in and say, hey, listen, for the sake of peace, Ruto, you need to step down. Let's put Kalonzo Musyoka so that the people feel like we are starting afresh. We have a new face, new policies, and maybe they might, Kalonzo might do something, okay? And people might settle for that, just for the fact that we are tired of Kasongo, okay? And maybe that explains why there's blatant corruption everywhere. This guy is looting everywhere because he knows, you know what? Let me get as much as I can while I'm still the head of the state, because my time is up. But one thing is for sure, Ruto is not going out without a fight. We see how the political figures are being abducted, arrested, disappeared, maimed, tortured, and even worse, unalived. Okay, so this guy is not going out without a fight. He will put up a fight. And if this country is going to burn, Ruto is ready to have it burn as long as he is the president. Now, the question, like I said, I posed is this: are we going to stay the course regardless of the intimidation, the orchestrated and choreographed violence that might pop up after the elections, the nastiness, the vitriol, the tribal skirmishes that might occur post-election violence? Are we going to stick to the cause and not let ourselves get divided and focus on actually replacing these colonial stooges that have been there? I mean, these guys are bragging that, oh, Kalonzo has been in government since for 40 years, and Ruto is bragging, I've been in government since, 50 years. And they have nothing to show off but corruption and a trail of bloodshed and all this stuff that we're trying to get rid of ourselves from. I'll leave it there because, like I say, this video is not going to be long. Let's tackle the Ruto economic lunacy, this whole Singaporean nonsense, okay, that he's trying to convince. Can somebody please tell Ruto that the number one reason why the Singaporeans' economic system works is because they were hard on economic crimes? That is exactly what transforms it. I saw that idiot Makaure talk on, I don't know which station it was. I think it was Citizen. It was like, oh, that president of whatever is it, Lao Louis, whatever, I forgot his name. The president of Singapore, who actually overturned their economy. He said, oh, he had dictatorial tendencies. No, he did not. He was not a dictator. When he became president, he stamped his feet on the ground and made sure that law is enforced. If you steal, you shall be jailed, you shall be executed. And there's an example where he gave when he was giving a speech somewhere. He said, actually, some of these ministers, there was one of his ministers who stole from the Singaporean government and ended up committing suicide because he knew what was coming to happen. He knew that he betrayed the country. And that is what I've been preaching. The problem in Kenya is not just lack of roads, lack of enough madawa, lack of, money. That's a bunch of that. That's why people like Jimmy Wanjigi coming up with this all wonderful manifestos. Oh, pesa, just a bunch of nonsense. We shall turn people to sheriffs and dreams that they're selling Kenyans that are not realistic. You have to understand the root cause of the problem. And it ties in with the colonial powers. But before we actually worry about the external forces that are actually controlling or taking over our sovereignty by meddling and having these colonial stooges rule over us, you have to legally take out these colonial stooges, these chaperones that are put there like Ruto, like Alonzo Musyoka, like Martha Karua, like Matiang'i, like Rigathi Gachagua. You have to deal with that first before you deal with the external forces that actually put these people or support these people to be there to lord over us. And as I've said, it has to be done lawfully. Listen, the Constitution of Kenya gives the people the power to actually remove the president through a popular, peaceful revolution. In fact, I would argue, even if the military was to intervene in Kenya and remove Ruto and, oversee the next electoral process, at least take the administrative part of the government to oversee the process of the next democratic process to elect a new civilian leadership, I would argue that is actually lawful. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, is this. Ruto and his lunatics who are running around telling us about Singapore, okay, let's remind this nitwit that, hey, what changed Singapore was actually the fact that they decided to enforce the laws that were in place. If somebody stole from the government, they were brought to justice. And by that alone, the whole legislative body of Kenya are perfect candidates for committee maximum prison for embezzling public funds. By that fact alone, the judiciary in its entirety are perfect candidates to be at committee maximum prison. By that fact alone, the executive branch of government that is headed by Ruto and all his CSs, all the governors, all the MCAs are perfect committee maximum prison candidates. You understand what I'm saying? Just by enforcing we have the laws in place. We have the Constitution to guide us. But here's the thing. As I finish, like I said, I'm not going to stay here for long. It's just going to be a brief one. Ruto is digging a ditch that he will not be able to come out of. This Singaporean economic model that he's touting across the country, it's bullshit spewed on loudspeakers. People know it, he knows it, and I think it's a test to see how people react to it, because you cannot be this stupid. And like I mentioned yesterday, the death of Cyrus Jirongo will play a part, because that alone, if it's made an issue, if it's highlighted, reminded, pounded into the people of Western Kenya's conscience, reminding them that Ruto has taken one of their own, allegedly, that's enough for him to lose votes from Western. And again, it will not take rocket scientists to figure out that Ruto will be trying to rig this election. The by-elections already indicated how he's going to do it. This time, knowing that there are people who are equally passionate about taking him out, it will be a confrontation that we do not know how it will pan out. It will be a test to see who is willing to stay focused, grounded, patriotism, to see that Ruto and the entire political class are removed from power. It's a daunting task, a huge hurdle. It's possible, but there'll be bumps on the way. And if I was to be honest with you, there might be bloodshed before actually we realize our dreams. Because after we fight these colonial stooges, puppets, we have to deal with the external forces who, if they don't like our new leader who might have a patriotic way of looking at things, we shall be facing sanctions. We shall be threatened with military intervention, like you see Venezuela, like you see the Sahel nations are facing. and so forth, so forth. So think beyond this nonsense about who is going to run in 2027. If you look at the roster, none of these candidates who are so-called offering themselves to be president in 27 are really revolutionaries, leaders. These are nothing but recycled criminals posing as politicians with new ideas. And they have their acolytes. Okay? They're bag carriers who are masquerading as youth leaders like the Makoures and Moraras. Don't you find it funny that these people, the so-called youth, are having dinner with the British High Commissioner? Don't you find it funny? They are posing with the new American ambassador. These are people who are being groomed for the future. And they're going to be rigged in to continue the colonial rule, because that's how these colonialists survive. They are leeches that they have to feed on the blood of the innocent African, Kenyan, indigenous people. So they won't do it directly. They'll maneuver their way, manipulate the system, okay, to put their stooges there in order to do what? To realize their what? Their agenda on our country. Take our land, take our sovereignty, and leave us as renters, beggars, waiting for IMF. Did you read about Botswana? What IMF told Botswana? Telling them not to pay their debt, basically. Sorry, not to pay the debt, but they say that not to own their own minerals. What is it called? Diamonds. What an astounding condition that IMF has the audacity to tell a sovereign nation that, hey, you are not allowed to own your own mineral. These are the same guy that you saw how Ruto was hugging the IMF leader when he went to the US to sign away our data information. And he secured a new loan, which is basically going to happily deposit in his personal account, along with his buddies like the Murkomens and Farouks, and even Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo. You have to understand how deep this fight is to become. But like I say, just to wrap it up, the 2027 elections, don't worry about who's running. Worry about the aftermath after they have declared Ruto as president once he has rigged himself back in. Will Kenyans stand for it? And how far are they willing to go to fight for their sovereignty? Because this time, Raila is not there to strike a handshake. And again, remind Ruto of his economic lunacy, this Singaporean model, which is a bunch of baloney. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, my friends, my name is Kenyan Revolutionary. I'll leave it here. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace and blessings. I'm out.